Hello, everybody. Dorothy here, professional astrologer. Today, we're going to talk about retrograde planets because we currently, so the very end of August, have 5 planets that are retrograde already, which is crazy since August 20th. It's just a lot going on that's retrograde. And so what do they mean? Before the end of September, Mercury will be retrograde as well. So that'll be 6 altogether out of the 8 planets. The sun and the moon don't retrograde. So what does all of this mean for you and me? So we've all heard about Mercury retrograde. I'll be doing a broadcast, a recording about that soon with my colleague. We do this for a couple of years now. We tend to do she does the numerology. Sue Coffin is her name, and I do the astrology, blah, blah, blah. So we'll have that out soon. But right now, I want to just talk about this. I talked about it a little while ago on a radio show I just did, and I thought I wanted to just record this. So you guys on Patreon, tier 4 and above, you get this as a little extra bonus this month, and then early, and then I'm going to pop it on to YouTube real soon. And we'll be doing the new moon forecast as well really soon. So what's going on here? So, there's a difference between being born with retrograde planets and when they are in the sky. So I'm talking about when they are in the sky, because all of the planets will retrograde. Mercury 3 times a year. Venus is every 18 months-ish, maybe about 19 months actually, and Mars is right about every 23 months, so every 2 years, so Mars will retrograde. But Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, so the 2 social planets and the 3 outer planets, they retrograde every single year, just so you know how not uncommon this is. This is pretty regular process that goes on across the board. So it's not uncommon, but I want just you to know how we can use it. So the Mercury retrograde stuff, we'll talk about that as it shows up. But, the retrogrades basically encourage us to slow down, to evaluate what we've been expanding for months and months. Because these outer planets, again, retrograde almost every single year. Saturn is like a year and a month, 12.5 months, and then it will retrograde. I'll get to it. I'll get to them each individually. I'm going to go through all 5 of them. And so it's an opportunity for us to, really integrate what we've been working on and processing. And this just is across the board, because this is 5 planets, which have 5 different processes in the different zodiac signs they're in. And then you're going to look at where, if you know your chart well enough, you can even look at where it is in your chart. And if it's interacting with planets, that will make it even stronger. All right. So let's get started on that. Okay, let's get started. So these retrograde planets, are that period, like I just said, I'm going to repeat myself, to take our time and to slow down, integrate what's going on. The beginning of the year, it's just the way they happen to be lined up right now and over the last number of years, and even into a number of future years, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are all going to be retrograde about this time of year. So it's usually mid to late summer into the fall. And that means when Venus and Mars aren't retrograde, which they are not in 2021, not until the very, very end. We have this period where, Venus retrogrades in December, but we have this period when Mercury is not retrograde, when there are no retrograde planets. So there is a short time period at the beginning of 2021, and then Mercury went retrograde, and then there was another small period late winter. Next year, just give you a little heads up, I do a year ahead. I do that with my colleague, Darlene Chadbourne. She's also a numerologist. Her and I have a big lecture scheduled, nhastrologer.com. You can come there and check out when we're going to do it and join us. It's all online. If you're local, it's in person too. Come online and come check it out. If you're on YouTube, the links to my website are below. In 2022, February to the second week in May, absolutely no retrogrades. That means in that time period, February to May 2022, everything full speed ahead. There you go, is what I'm trying to say. full speed ahead, accelerator all the way down, boom. Then when we get the retrogrades, it's time to slow down and integrate. So back to right now, Jupiter's retrograde. So what is Jupiter about? So up until it went retrograde, which was, see, I didn't have these dates written down because it's already been retrograde for a while. It was right at the summer solstice. The June solstice, Jupiter went retrograde. So right around June 20th. Up until then, it was just full steam ahead. Jupiter is all about expansion. It was in Aquarius for a long time. So it's like all of these social causes. You're going to hear me talk about causes, social causes, and groups a lot. Jupiter in Aquarius, Saturn's in Aquarius. The ruler of Aquarius is the planet Uranus. He's retrograde as well. So you're going to hear this a lot. And because this is what's going on, and you can just see it in the world around us. So where the planets are in the sky is what we're talking about, and how is that reflecting what's going on here on the planet. So with Jupiter in Aquarius, it popped into Pisces for a little while. So we really felt that little break from reality, because Pisces is all about non-reality and pulling the wool over our eyes and just trying to dull the senses a little bit. We'll talk about that because Neptune's in Pisces. We'll get to that in a minute. So Jupiter, mainly in Aquarius as a retrograde planet right now. And so it will stay in that sign until the very end of the year, but it will only stay retrograde. So June solstice all the way until it turns around right about October 17th, October 18th, depends on your time zone. All of these major causes, the things that we're just being so gung-ho about, gung-ho meaning like we have everything behind it. We want to help all the causes, push all the energy into helping other people as best we can, people that are disenfranchised, the underdog, people who need that help, any type of organizations and those types of things, all gung-ho for that, feeling that need, that sense of freedom. We've been feeling that quite strongly. Saturn's going to put a kibosh on that soon, but we've been feeling that and the need for that. And once Jupiter went retrograde, and as it is now until mid-October, you know, we're really reconsidering, what do I want to put my energy behind? What type of freedom am I willing to fight for? What type of new causes are important to me? You might not care at all. You might not be an activist, and that might not matter to you. So maybe what matters to you are the groups that you've been a part of. And you're starting to find that you just have so many differences that you're going to leave, or you're finding new groups that match your vibration now. So we're reconsidering a lot of things through October with this Jupiter retrograde. Okay. All right. So there's that piece. And you're going to want to look at where it is in the astrology chart for you. Here, let me share my screen, and then I will pop up. So I can do that. Share screen, click share. Sometimes I'm not so great at this. So here is the chart. It's just a chart for this moment in time. So don't be overly concerned about placements of anything. That's not the point. I just want you to see the planets that are retrograde. I only have the planets here. I don't even have, for the astrologers out there, I don't even have the midheaven or the ascendant, none of it. Not even the nodes, just the planets. There's Pluto, retrograde, Saturn, Jupiter, that's who I'm talking about right now, and Neptune, and then Uranus. Okay, so just so you can see it, this just happens to be where it is right now. But you're going to locate where these planets are in your own chart. Okay, and that's the thing. That's what's important. They're not going to go too far from where they are right now, because Jupiter will move the farthest. It goes from 2 Pisces retrogrades back to 22 Aquarius, and then it will move forward again. All right, so look at where that is for you. That will give you personal information about what area of your chart, the house placement, whatever house it happens to be in for you, will stir things up, okay? And give you that opportunity to do the work that you want to do, and to slow down, let me stop the share, to slow down the growth, because sometimes it gets too much, it gets too big. And we have to figure out how to process it and integrate it. And that's what the retrogrades are about. Just like we have to sleep every night. Maybe not every night. Not everybody sleeps like that, but typically the human needs to sleep every single night, right? All right, let me get back to this. Next is Saturn retrograde. So let me get that for you. Saturn went retrograde in early mid-May. So right around the 23rd of May at 13 degrees of Capricorn. And it will turn back around right around the 10th of October at just almost 7 degrees. So 6:53 Capricorn. So it's not Capricorn, it's Aquarius, 6 Aquarius, and it started its retrograde at 13. So 13 degrees to 6 degrees Aquarius is where Saturn is. And so what is this about? So when Saturn is retrograde, oh, I didn't tell you, Jupiter goes retrograde for 4 months, once every 13 months. Okay, I'll tell you that. I want to tell you that too. It's right here. I forgot to tell you. All right, Saturn retrograde, and that is about restructuring. So whatever we've been building and growing and structuring, and in the time that it's been moving forward since its last retrograde last year, it's now time that we re-examine these things, take that inner look at what's happening. Are we building? Are we committing? Are we running the groups, Aquarius, the groups that we wanted to? Are we feeling restricted? Saturn is about boundaries. It's about rules, regulations, boundaries, structure, government. To me, and this is non-political, no political stuff, guys. I'm just not into it. I'm not up for it, honestly. It's what the truth is. The Saturn, it does rule government, and Aquarius rules groups of people, social groups of people. So, for instance, just, the real meat and potatoes, like with Jupiter and Aquarius, putting as much money into certain areas to help support the economy. And now a lot of those things are ending. That's the retrogrades, Jupiter and Saturn. Specifically back to Saturn. We want to be aware of what we're responsible for ourselves, right? So Saturn is my own authority, my own knowledge, my own who am I, right? And that's Saturn. How am I in charge? Do I feel like an authority at what I'm doing? So in regards to society's rules, Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn, when it first moved into Aquarius, was way back in March 2020, when we got like the whole world shut down. And then Saturn went back out, came back in, and now we have more of that, the restrictions that they're just it's all over the place, because some countries are putting more restrictions on, mask mandates, insisting people have vaccinations, all of those things. And again, no debates here. I'm just stating facts of what we see with the Saturn and Aquarius. A lot of those things going on. And so now that it's retrograde, we have a chance to integrate this. What does this mean to me? Do I get to have I want to have conversations. I want to understand how other people are thinking and feeling. And, what is my own authority? How do I feel about all of these things myself? Aquarius is about freedom and independence, but it's also fighting for the underdog and supporting those groups of people who are disenfranchised. But let's go real personal and shift the gears a little bit, because Aquarius is also about the groups you belong to. And do you still feel like you want to belong to those groups as well? That's Aquarius. I told you we're going to have some repeat patterns going on here. And it's very, very true. So look where these early degrees of Aquarius are, because that's where Saturn is. Saturn will retrograde just over every year, like 12 months and 12 and a half months. And it retrogrades for around 4.5 months. And that's every single year. So with that Saturn retrograde, go within, because the retrogrades, again, are all about what do I need to integrate? What do I need to learn? Saturn, learn about your own authority. How are you in charge? Do you feel restricted? How can you make these changes that you want to make? and look at where it is in your own chart. And that will give you a little more insight. If you want help with that, you just let me know, because that's my job. I love to help. Okay, we're going to move on to Uranus, because Uranus is retrograde in the sign of Taurus, and Saturn and Uranus in 2021, they are squaring off 3 times. I believe it was April and June, and again in December. And when they square off, this is Saturn represents, Capricorn energy. He rules Capricorn, and rules and regulations and structures and the old way of doing things in religion and government. In Aquarius, squaring Uranus in Taurus, it is shaking things up. It's the old versus the new. And 90-degree angles in astrology represents tension and stress. So we're able to see where the problems are. So we won't be complacent and just continue to let it happen, whatever it is, okay? So the last time they were like this was the 1980s. I can't remember the exact year, but the planets were in the opposite signs that they're in now, not the opposite signs. Right now, Saturn's in Aquarius and Uranus is in Taurus. Last time Uranus was in Aquarius and Saturn was in Taurus. I think it was 1988. I'm going to take a look. Let me hit pause. It was 1999. So look back to 1999. Saturn was in Taurus and Uranus was in Aquarius. Let me share my screen. I can show you. Oh, no, I can't, because I didn't animate it. Yes, I can. I'm going to do this because this is a teaching opportunity. Let's just put this in 1999 and we'll hit enter. There we are. So here's Uranus in Aquarius and Saturn's in Taurus. This is about when Saturn went retrograde back then. So, and you can see that not all the planets, all the outer planets were retrograde then. So you can tell how sometimes they come together and then they separate. So anyways, Uranus was in Aquarius, its own sign, Saturn and Taurus. Now we have just the opposite. And we have, here's today, we have Uranus in Taurus. And here is Saturn in Aquarius, okay? They're a little separated right now by a square, but they'll be back in December to connect with each other. They connect again with each other in early 2022, but not exact. So let me stop my share. So what's the point in all of that? The point in all of that is between Saturn and Uranus, the tension is about taking, again, what is old and not just destroying it completely, because history is important to remember. And we do build our lives on history, but we need to know, we need to work on what is new. We're at such a tipping point in humanity on this planet right now. And these are the reasons why, especially the Uranus-Saturn square, and then all of these outer planets retrograde. Again, they do that every year, but it's just, you know, 100-year pandemic, you know, we don't have that very often. And the weather that's going on is just outrageous, and Uranus rules the weather as well. So it's in the sign of Taurus, it's teaching us what's working and what isn't. We definitely do need to pay attention. There are a lot of places that are paying attention. It's not all doom and gloom. So don't fall for that either, but definitely step up where you need to. So when Uranus is retrograde, I mean, he's only retrograde. He went retrograde on August 20th. He'll go direct, I think it's the 3rd week in January 2022. And so while he's retrograde in the sign of Taurus, find that area of Taurus for yourself. So he started his retrograde. Go look. He started his retrograde at around 14 degrees of Taurus, and he goes back, I believe, to like 10. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, he goes back to 10. So 14 Taurus back to 10 degrees of Taurus, and then he'll move forward again. So what does that mean? So this is where we have an opportunity. I guess I'm just going to say, to save the planet, we have an opportunity to make a shift. We are at an absolute tipping point. Astrologically, it's showing that, but we've been at these places before, and you know, we've stepped up. So all of you who do metaphysical work and things that help raise your vibration and raise the vibration of the planet. We just want to keep doing that because it will make a difference, and it does make a difference. Personally, where is this in your chart? Where is it that, what house is it in? Is it connecting to anything in your chart specifically? Again, if you don't know how to do that, that's my job. But if you do know how to do it, look at that and see, what is Uranus asking of you? How is it asking you to get out of your shell, to step up and do things that are different? It's so important for us to do that at this point in time. Okay, so let's see if I missed anything. So Uranus will retrograde for 5 months every year. And did I miss anything in my notes here? Because, I just keep talking and sometimes I just miss things. So work on your own changes, work on where you need things to be different and unique. This Uranus is on my ascendant. It's crazy. I had another astrologer say, well, you need a total makeover. And I'm like, nope, not cutting my hair. I could comb it once in a while, but I'm not cutting it. I don't know, whatever it is, we'll see. I'll approach things from a different perspective. 2 more planets to go. Neptune, let's move on to Neptune, is retrograde in its own sign of Pisces. It's been that way for a long time. You know what? I wanted to check what that was, and I forgot to do that. So let's pull out the big ephemeris and see how long Neptune's been in Pisces. Oh, look at that, like right around 2011. It goes in and out sometimes. Oh, it went retrograde there. And give me 1 second. February 2012, and it probably went back out for a little while. In February, it did not. So February 2012 is when it entered Pisces to stay, and it'll be in there for a couple of decades. So it's in there now since 2012. It's in there now. Every year Neptune will retrograde for 5 to 6 months every single year. So Neptune in Pisces, boy, this is the virus. It's things we can't see. Pandemic is ruled by the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that we had in early 2020. Neptune is, again, not being able to see the truth or to see clearly at all. It's going to be in the sign for a long time. So what do we do with this? Is like, first off, we trust our Saturn. We talked about Saturn being very, very grounded and very rule-oriented and boundaries, and Neptune in Pisces, no boundaries. It's like the ocean, there is the seashore, of course, but it's just, it's hard to see where the edges are. It's like a fog. Everything's kind of not clear. There are no straight edges when it comes to that Neptune in Pisces at all. Blind faith, a lot of people going for that. And this is in regards to, what we hear on the news, what you read, your beliefs, just all of these things. And again, no politics, please. I will delete your comments. But this is that blind faith. And if that's what where Neptune in the sky is and what it describes, then that is a reflection of what's going on down here. Either there's plenty of people, there's people that believe in what the world is telling them. And then there's people that believe what some people call conspiracies and aliens. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in this. We're all believing something, whether we have facts or not, right? That's this Neptune. We're all under this cloud of I'm not sure. I'm trying to get the facts, but I'm still not sure, that kind of a thing. So we have that. Now, so blind faith. Maybe that's you, maybe that's not. That's okay. If people are like that, that's exactly what's happening in the sky. And that's a reflection of what's going on the planet. So it's not surprising that we would see this in many, many places. Let's see, what else am I looking at here? We want to take that Neptune as well. Let's flip it and get it out of, something that could be political or controversial. It's just look at your own spirituality. Neptune rules that too. So over the number of months that it's been going direct, and you learning and practicing whatever your psychic abilities, intuition, going to church more, really connecting with your God, or whatever that is important for us to do. When it's retrograde, that's when we are integrating all of that information. We're integrating that collective, well, might not be collective, but we're integrating the information that is important to us as far as our beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, our hopes and dreams. Again, the collective conscious could be, this is where, here we go again, more fears, illusions, confusion about what the truth is. And if that ain't the effing truth, last year and a half, 2 years, where things have just been quite confusing, so much different information. So that would create a lot of fear and a lot of illusion. And we're definitely seeing that now. So how do we use this retrograde, as it's retrograde now? How do we use this? It's going within, finding your truth, finding your own truth, and then focusing on your hopes and dreams. And the second thing is to get back into nature. It's not necessarily Neptune, but what it is we need to get grounded. So get grounded. If you follow my Facebook or whatever, any of my social media, you will always see me. I'm always at the beach or at a lake or a river or in the woods. I drive and I go and I get out of this office. And that is how I stay grounded. I get present and I focus on the now, because there's so much spinning going on in the world. It's really tough. Neptune is also compassion, love and compassion, that unconditional compassion and love for others. Sometimes my own personal journey here, sometimes when I get in my head and something's bothering me and it just starts spinning, right? And I can't get out of it. So an old recommendation I used to do for people who weren't too metaphysical would be, all right, take some cotton candy, and like the pink cotton candy, and surround the person that's bothering you or the thought that's bothering you, because pink is beautiful Kuan Yin energy. It's about love and compassion. So when I get spinning on myself, just thinking about something I should have done or whatever, we all know how we have thoughts like that. I stop myself. So my higher self, my spirit, just wants the human ego, the Gemini, the person, to stop. And so I can recognize that now. And so I spin myself in cotton candy. I don't care for it, but I spin it because now I stop the ridiculous thoughts that just won't leave me alone. And I surround myself in love and compassion and understanding, no judgment. And it immediately stops the thoughts in my head that are just going crazy, that stress me out, whatever one situation or another is. And that's what I do for myself. Try it, because Neptune in Pisces can create a lot of unknown and a lot of confusion, and again, a lot of illusion and fear. But the positive side of that is, the flip side of that is, let's engage in our own spirituality, our own truth, our own love and compassion. And it starts with ourselves. Retrograde starts within. All right. Finally, Pluto retrograde. Now, Pluto will only move like 4 or 5 degrees a year, and he's retrograde for about 2 or 3 of those degrees. It varies, of course, depending on his motion in the sky. So Pluto is all about transformation and that change. He's been in Capricorn since 2008, so that's a long time. He'll stay in there until 2024 when he pops into Aquarius finally. Pluto returned for the United States, so that means we're definitely in a period of upheaval in this country. That only happens every 240 years, 244. So that, it's really a big opportunity for our nation to change and transform into what we truly are. But bringing it back to you and me, it's that opportunity for us to transform and change equally into what it is that where we're growing, because Pluto will not move that far in a whole lifetime. It will not go that far. So wherever it is for you, we don't live 240 years, we don't. So it's only going to move a small distance in your astrology chart. So that's where the deepest amount of transformation and change exists. So we need to pay attention to when it is retrograde. And Pluto will be retrograde every year for about 5 months. So let's see what else. Yeah. So wherever it is, especially if it's connecting to something in your chart. I talked to a client recently, And she's just been in the darkest place. And she says she just can't get out of it. She doesn't know how or why. And we could see that this Pluto, as it's retrograde right now, it is actually making a connection to her sun. And that the sun in the chart is our life force. And so when Pluto connects with that, in some ways, not for everybody, but we'll feel that way. We'll feel really depressed and we'll feel like we're in a dark place. But it's about you. If you think of it more in a more lighter way, that you're the caterpillar that's in the chrysalis right now. And inside that chrysalis, there's a whole lot of mixing going on and a whole lot of transformation and change. And pretty soon you will emerge as a new creature, but still the same, but the DNA got shifted a little bit. That's the caterpillar to the butterfly. It's not necessarily happening to you, but it is in your own way, your own thoughts and your own perspective. So this is about deep personal growth, shifting into a new consciousness. And at this point in time, if you feel that like deep and depressed, even, if you will, I mean, absolutely seek out a therapist and a counselor. That's definitely Pluto's territory. And if that's not your gig, then you can find, the best shamans and the people that do past life regression that will help you process what's happening in your own personal life, what's going on there. And then you're able to process that and help that to transform and change. So we have these retrograde energies. We hear all of these keywords about being, oh, don't do anything here, there, or anywhere, but it's an opportunity to slow down, to take your time, to integrate. And there was a lot of information here. We have 5 planets retrograde. That is a lot going on. Okay. So we have a ton of things to process. So always make sure you find the time to take a break. And even if it's just 2 minutes here or there, you find your time to take a break, get outside, go and see nature. Just before I started doing this, there was like the best sunset. I wonder if I can share that with you somehow. Let's see if I can do that. Can I? That doesn't show it. I'll put it on my Facebook page. It's so beautiful in orange. It's gone already. It lasted like a minute. So beautiful. That's just those types of things remind us of why we're here. Remind us to get back to our center, and don't forget to unplug. All right. Even with this much going on. All right, guys, thank you so much. Blessings and namaste. And what did I want to talk about? Did I tell you I have a class running? I have a new class. It's going to start September 16th. Yes, I'll tell you, 5 weeks beginner class, September 16th. And then the next Thursday, let's get that out really quick. It's a very beginner class. It's in the evening. It's an hour and a half, September 16th. And then September 23rd, we take a break for a week because like the retrograde planets, because there's going to be a lot that I want you to integrate from the first 2 weeks. And then we'll do 2 more weeks, which is Thursday night, October 7th and October 14th. That's the very beginner class. NHastrologer.com. Click on the class link and you will find it. Just scroll, you'll see it. And we'll go from there because we love that. And again, if you're not on my Patreon, this is gonna be a bonus for tier 4. And then this is gonna go on to YouTube. So you get to have this stuff ahead of time. Lots of live recordings. Today, I wanted to do this all by myself. All right. Please come and support me there. Even if you don't want to do that, please just come and make a donation and support me there. I would really appreciate that. If you're not already on Patreon. Blessings, everybody. Namaste.